Hello Gemini, thank you for joining me for your monthly forecast for October for the Sun or the Ascendant. If you've yet to subscribe to my channel, I'd be honoured if you did so now. This month begins with the Sun and Venus and Mercury, your ruler, all in the sign of Libra, which for you is your sister air sign, but also your fifth solar house. This is the area where you can really express your passions and your enthusiasms. It's really the area that can be fun and sociable too, and there can be strands of that this month for sure. One date I want you to mark in your diary is from the 10th to the 17th, because then the Sun is forging an awesome angle to Jupiter. This is going to be a brilliant period of days, 7 days, when if you meet up with a friend or have a date, or you're trying to stimulate something that's creative, the chances are that something very positive can come to pass for you. But the month begins also with Pluto just in the last throes of its retrograde, which has gone on for some months. And on the 3rd, that comes to a close, which is something we can all celebrate, because for you, it is in the deep and transformational 8th house. And it's had a huge impact on you, I believe, since 2008. Of course, since December 2017, Saturn, the planet of structure, but also restriction, has also been in this area too. But Pluto is also going to be forging all through this month a really enabling link to Jupiter. If we think that Jupiter is traditionally linked to optimism and growth, and it's in your sector of relationships, and Pluto is in an area which is much more to do with the depth of your associations. So it's where you're really invested, either emotionally, physically, in a sexual sense, or perhaps even in a business situation. So there can be some kind of alliance that shapes up this month, which can be transformational, but can be very, very good as far as your resources are concerned. So this could be one of those times when if you can find the right person or people to collaborate with, and it's unlikely to be a light and fluffy kind of association, it's going to be something that really has some kind of substance to it. It could prove to be immensely fortunate. Now, Mercury is going to be moving on the 3rd too, shifting into the sign of Scorpio, which for you is a kind of area of great detail. So Mercury's move through this location is asking you to grapple with facts and figures, to drill down into the minutiae and make sure that whatever you're doing is really precise. But also, on the 4th, Mars moves out of a relatively tender area for you, the 4th house, where it's been for 6 weeks and been giving you a lot of drive to improve where you live in a physical context, or at times maybe made you a little bit defensive. Well, that actually moves into Libra. Now, it is actually in detriment in the sign of Libra, but I think for you it can broadly be positive. It is going to meet a difficult right angle with Saturn later this month. But generally, what Mars is going to do in this location is give you passion for the things that you really find enjoyable. So whatever the Sun and initially Mercury and Venus are asking you to make the most of with at the start of this month, Mars gives you the drive to push it forwards with great determination. It's also going to boost your sex appeal to some degree, so that's something to very much celebrate. Now, it is true to say that from the 5th through to the 11th, Mercury is going to be going into an opposition with Uranus. Now, Uranus is, for the next 7 years, going to be in quite a psychological part of your situation, which can, if you've got any unresolved business deep within you, it could see you feel quite restless at times. Now, I think this restlessness that's going to come up from in that set of days may be something to do with your work. So if there is a part of your job which you're not feeling fulfilled around, it is likely to show itself this month, because not only does Mercury go opposite Uranus, then subsequently does Venus, and then later in the month, the Sun. But for now, I just feel that there may be a little detail that you do need to make sure you don't take your eye off the ball around. So really concentrate. But also from the 5th to the 11th, the Sun goes into one of the most mighty planetary aspects of all, the square with Saturn. Saturn is about structure, and it's been asking you since the start of 2018 and the last days of 2017 to take your finances really seriously, to marshal your resources with great care, to not spend more than you can realistically receive, to perhaps get rid of any unnecessary expenditure and to focus on what's really essential. Now, with the Sun in your 5th house, it's asking you to embrace the things that delight you. So if you're tempted to splash out on a big ticket item from the 5th to the 11th, I really would try to avoid it. Also, ironically, from the 11th to the 17th, the Sun is going to clash with Pluto. And it's a similar kind of energy in the sense that the Sun's asking you to enjoy life and to indulge yourself in some way, feed your senses, whether it's through fun, entertainment, sociability, creative projects, spoiling the people that you really love, your children or your partner. But I don't think this is the time to make grand gestures, and also be conscious of the politics that are in your closest relationships, because you could be drawn towards somebody, especially with Mars's help, who really makes your pulse race. But you need to consider whether politically this association would actually be right for you. So it's possible that someone who's got a bit of a dark side, they at first may seem very mysterious, or something about them has a kind of edge or a presence which does seem very alluring. But just be careful about what you're getting involved with. Also, in an existing relationship, there is the potential for politics. So if someone's been controlling or possessive or a bit jealous, it could really get you down, to be quite honest. Now, on the 9th, Venus is going to move. It's going to move out of its home zone of Libra, move into Scorpio. And of course, Venus in Scorpio, wow, what's not to like? It's super saucy, isn't it? And for you, however, it is moving into an area where being thoughtful and obliging in a romantic context, being a bit more practical, thinking about what your partner's needs are. So, whereas before in the first third of this month, it's very flirty and very playful, now it's asking you to think about how you can help someone in a way which enables their life, makes it a bit easier. So not very sexy, but it does go into an opposition with Uranus. So I think this could point towards an attraction you have with someone through your work, or if you view Venus through the prism of finance, which of course it is involved with, it's possible that again, if a way that you've gained income in the past is losing its appeal, Uranus may be flagging this up, drawing this to your attention, because it's coming from deep within your subconscious, that something's pinning you back, stopping you being quite as free. If you're over-obligated to someone, it's definitely going to come up this month. Now, the 14th does see a full moon, and this full moon occurs in Aries, which on the face of it is not a bad full moon to have. It's asking you to time manage your energies and resources. If you spend a lot of time with your friends and less time with a partner could complain about it. If you're someone who invests so much time in your partner you can't remember the last time you went out with your buddies, try to find a better balance. It is possible that a friend could become something more, but just be conscious of the role that Pluto plays on this full moon, because it is providing a T-square. It does dissect the opposition between the moon in Aries and the sun in Libra. So it is important to be careful what you wish for as far as your love life is concerned. But then the sun moves on the 24th into Scorpio, and this can be very transformational in terms of your work or your lifestyle or your health and fitness, because it's going to ask you over the following 4 weeks to really take these areas seriously. And if you are someone who loves having fun, which is often the case with Gemini people, if you have been creating some good ideas in the first 2/3 of this month, the Sun, Mercury and Venus are asking you to convert those good ideas into something that's more tangible, something that's going to be more practical and lasting. And if you've been burning the candle at both ends, to get a few early nights, recharge your system. There's a wonderful new moon on the 28th, but that too links with Uranus. So even if you do try to make some changes, I think it's going to be important to be open-minded, more novel approaches, anything to do with creating more space or lightness. Technology may play a part in your thinking, but you want to make your burden lighter, especially if you do a lot for other people, I feel. Now, Mercury, your ruler, does go into a retrograde as this month draws to a close. And because it's in the 6th house, it may be a trusted domestic appliance that could require a service, or perhaps you're going to rethink some element of where you make sacrifices or how you look after yourself or where you work. However, there is a change which occurs on the 10th this month, which I think is really exciting. And that sees Saturn come to the end of an opposition that's gone on with the North Node, which is your emotional pull since the beginning of April. And if there has been some kind of sense that your financial situation or your sense of self-worth have felt somehow depleted or deflated, I do feel some kind of liberation is going to come from the 10th. But Mars, from the 4th of this month, is going to give you a welter of enthusiasm and passion. It's just that it does, in the last 10 days of this month, go into a right angle with Saturn. When these two are in a more challenging aspect like this, Mars, of course, is go ahead, and it's like instant gratification. It's very masculine. It's like, I want it now. I don't really want to think through the consequences. I just want it now. So we've all experienced that. If we suddenly get a desire for a new item of clothing, or we suddenly want something yummy out of the cupboard or the fridge, or perhaps it's someone who really takes our fancy. So Mars is a lovely influence, but Saturn, of course, blocks, obstructs, points out the difficulty. So when the two come together in a more challenging aspect like this one, it's possible that something you really want seems out of reach, or there's a catch, or perhaps you're having to be much more self-disciplined about a yearning that's quite strong. And so therefore, I would be a little bit careful about risk-taking with your resources this month, which is the 5th house. It is gambling. That's not to say you personally are gambling. It could be decisions that you want to make about buying an item, investing in a relationship, leaving a relationship. All these kind of things are taking risks, even if they're well thought through and considered. But what Saturn's asking you to do is just think about the ramifications from whatever choices you make. That doesn't mean to say you shouldn't make changes, just consider the ramifications. But particularly where you're closely involved or invested in someone or a situation, or there's finances, or there's something to do with property. But in general, this is a month where there are still huge opportunities for you to progress, not least that delicious angle between Jupiter and the Sun from the 10th to the 17th, and Jupiter and Pluto for the whole of this month. If you'd like to know more about personal astrology based on your time, date and place of birth, why not click on the link beneath this video. You can visit my chart store. If you buy a year's forecast and a character analysis, I'll give you 30% off. Or you can choose to have a one-to-one personal consultation with me. But for now, good luck, Gemini, and goodbye.